What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Brutal Planet Comics. I'm your host, Dre the Brew Daniels. Welcome to the episode of the Indie Corner, where I sit down with everybody from the independence community, writers, artists, directors, producers. Doesn't matter if you're in the game, I want to talk to you. So today we have a guest who is a massive creator of his own. He is the founder of Marcel Comics. You're gonna love the wordplay. Give it up, everybody, for Marcel the Loser Vann.
Hey, how's it going?
What is going on, my friend? How are you?
I'm good, man. You doing all right?
I am hanging on this fine day. How are things going on your end?
They're good. It's like a cold front that don't come through over. Like I live out in Georgia, and I think this is our first 49-degree day. So and it's mixed with rain. So yeah, it's a bit nippy out here, but it's cool. You know, I paid the heat bill. It's all good.
Yeah, you're not the only one who's missing the heat right now. Good grief. Winter's coming. Winter is coming. So before we even get into all the other cool things you're doing, all the work that you're cooking, let's just get to know you a little bit. So you mentioned you're from Georgia. So are you from there? How did we get from your origins to where we are now?
Well, it all started back in 1990. That's what you got to understand, right? Back in 1990, August 25th, I, Marcel the Loser, was born.
Okay.
That's how that sets the stage.
I see that. All right.
So I was born in California, San Diego, California, but my father, he was in the military. So went from being stationed in San Diego to moving out here to Marietta, Georgia, which is where I've been since I was 2, basically my whole life. So, for the most part, I'm from Marietta, Georgia. I'm only technically from California, but I've been here and I've been you talk about origin stories. I went to a book fair.
Wow.
In my third, Scholastic book fair.
That takes me back.
With the little catalog newspapers and stuff. This is I'm just thinking. Remember how everybody had a catalog news? It's remember the Toys R Us one?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I had one from when all the toy stores I had one from. I had KB Toys catalog. I had Toys R Us catalog. What was it back then? EB didn't exist.
Halloween Party City catalog.
Yep.
Was it one?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Ooh, I haven't thought about that in decades. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But so I got the catalog, was looking through okay, any good books, that's a cool folder, those are some cool pencils, and then there was a book though that caught my eye. It was called Captain Underpants by Dad Pilkey.
Hey,
this was the first one when it first dropped, okay, and it was there's something about this just looks right. I go to the book fair, I look at the book, and it's oh cool, these kids make comics and they sell them to the other kids. I was something about that just sounds right. I was I should do that, and I want this book. I couldn't afford the book, so then I went and plotted on different schemes on how to ask my mom for the book. Eventually got it. It's you wouldn't think. It's I want a book. Is that really a hard thing to ask for, a kid to ask for? You just gotta, it's not a video game. I want a book.
Mm-hmm.
But I got that book, and then I saw them making the comics, and I just got inspired from that. I think the first comic I ever made was a bootleg Captain Underpants comic, and I didn't sell it to anyone. That was I think I got my teacher to make copies for me, or no, my mom made copies for me. She did copies at her job, but I didn't do anything with them. It's one thing to think, I'll make a comic, but then it's I'm gonna sell them to the other. I don't know about that. But eventually, though, I did start doing that. In 4th grade a little bit, but then I picked it back up again in middle school, 6th and 7th grade. And then some kids got in trouble reading them in their class. And it was kind of my teacher who was doing the copies for me then said, we got to put the kibosh on that. We can't do that no more. So I fell off, but then I was reignited in my senior year of high school. My my graphic arts teacher, Cameron White, who's no longer with us, unfortunately.
Sorry to hear that.
He poured into me and he reignited that flame. Like, I was always into artistic and creative things, but I wasn't really on it like how I could have been. And he reignited that flame, and then I've been going hard since then. Was 2007.
Wow, that's a good run. That's a good run. The rewind just a touch. I was also a fan of the Captain Underpants series when I was a kid. I think the names are always 500 words long, but I think it was Captain Underpants and the Revenge of Professor P.P. Poopy Pants. I think Yeah, I remember that joint fondly. I used to have them stacked up. I think I had the Attack of the Talking Toilets.
Yeah,
I had quite a few of them. I was a fan of Captain Underpants, but I love the origin story that you got there, because I have talked to bazillions of people, but I've never heard anyone say that they got their inspiration from the comic book that the kids were writing from Captain Underpants. So this is a first for me, and when I really stopped to think about it, that could be a major inspiration for a young writer to see kids writing material for themselves. That's really cool.
It makes it possible. It's like, oh, they're doing it, I can do it, you know?
Yeah, that's really dope. That's really dope. So, Marcel, thank you for sharing that origin with us. So, before we get too deep, I got to ask you about the name. Marcel the Loser Vann. Where is the loser parentheses aspect of the name come from?
So I was, like many indie kids, very much into Odd Future. So I really liked Tyler, the Creator, and I just sort of wanted to pattern my name after his. So, like, because at first I was going by Celly Smalls, and that was being patterned, of course, after Biggie Smalls.
Yeah.
And I was branding myself as the hilarious CEL, right? So I went into that a whole lot. I even did a comic strip anthology called Read or Die, where it had my character, like as the baby on the cover. And so I really leaned into that. But then, I got really into like Tyler, the Creator, and Chance the Rapper. So I was like, well, I'm going to be Marcel the Loser. And the loser part came from, are you familiar with the Fight Club movie with Brad Pitt?
Yeah, Fight Club. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So in Fight Club, there's this one scene where they Brad Pitt and Edward Norton, they sort of not like mug this guy, but they get him in the parking lot and they get his ID, and he's like, what did you want to be when you grew up, and all that stuff. And so they basically punk this guy into chasing his dreams, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when Edward Norton's like, why did you do that? Like, what was all that about? And then Brad Pitt turns to him and says, it's only after we've lost everything that we're free to become anything. So the concept is, as being the loser, it's like I'm getting tongue twisted, but basically it means that I'm not afraid of failure. I'm not afraid of hitting rock bottom. I'm already a loser. I've already lost everything, so I'm just gonna go for everything.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that philosophy. Is like I have a similar expression. Is as many people do. Once you're at the bottom, there's nowhere to go but up.
Right.
So having the ideology of even if you're making progress mentally, you're like, hey, I'm still down here. It's always going to make you climb higher. I like that. That is oddly insightful. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right. So, so as you hone your craft, but wait, before I even get into that, do you lead for the work that you do? Are you primarily an artist or writer, or do you do all jack of all trades? You just put it all together.
Yeah, I do. I'm the writer and the artist, so I officially label myself as just a cartoonist.
Okay.
So yeah, I write my comics, I illustrate them. When you're indie, I market it, print it, bind it, sell it. The whole shebang bang. I don't think there's one aspect of the creative process that I haven't touched on, in at least a little bit. So it's And that's kind of been my Achilles heel coming up. I was talking with someone the other day on my podcast, the L7 Weenie podcast. Feel free to check it out.
Shout out.
I was talking with them about how I had to realize by being a jack of all trades that can also be somewhat of a double-edged sword, because you occupy your time now with just doing everything we do when you could delegate some of these jobs to other people. And basically you'll get further, together. If you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with the team, So I still do a lot myself, but I see the value now in connecting with others and utilizing those resources.
I see. And no, I understand that all too well, because like yourself, as an indie creator, we do it all.
Right.
And so in my case, my art is trash. So I definitely needed to outsource that for sure. But I know exactly what you mean by it can become counterproductive, because if you're wearing all the hats in the kitchen, eventually you're gonna get burned out. But that's part of the indie game in of itself. That's just the way it is. If we were signed to DC, Marvel, Image, IDW, then there's 40 of us.
And we still probably have to do a lot of that work.
True, absolutely. But that's just the way the game goes, and it could be a tough game. It could be a tough, cruel game sometimes, but hey, we play it. So but I can resonate with that 110%. I'm with you. I got you on that. So let's talk about your comic company. Let's talk about Marcel Comics. I love the play on words. I love the imagery of something that's extremely familiar, obviously through Marvel Comics, but I love the play. Before we get into your creative process and all the things you've done creatively, why pick that name? Why pick Marcel Comics?
So back when I was first making comics, like I said, back in elementary school and middle school, I was just calling it Marcel Comics because that's my name. I was just like, I'm just calling it Marcel Comics. It wasn't trying to, be like, make fun of Marvel or anything like that. It's just, well, that's my name. I'm Marcel. This is Marcel Comics. And the logo, my original logo was just like a star. So
okay.
It wasn't it wasn't the direct parody that it is now. So originally it just Marcel Comics with a star. As I progressed through my career and started getting into the kind of stories that I like to tell, it fit my branding to be more of a direct parody of Marvel Comics, especially when things like the big, what I call slap in the face. If you search Marcel Comics in Google,
okay,
they're going to show you results for Marvel Comics.
Of course.
And they'll be like, do you really want to search for Marcel Comics? Like, search instead for Marcel Comics? Is that what you want to do with your life? You don't have to do that. This is Marvel Comics. This is better. You want to look at this, right? Marcel Comics? Okay, we'll show you. So I was like, okay, well, that's why the URL for my Facebook page is called Did You Mean Marvel Comics?
Ah, clever. I like it.
It's all tied into the branding now. And for the kind of comics that I do that kind of mix in my original stories with, established, character stories, sometimes Marvel characters, it just fits the brand more.
Yeah, that's clever. I love double entendres. I love play on words. That's my thing. I love seeing all that. That's dope. That's really cool. That I'm feeling that. All right, that's cool. I like that origin. Name. So, tell me, what kind of stuff are you cooking up over there at Marcel Comics?
Well, right now I'm kind of I'm in what I would call phase one of just sort of building the platform, right? So I'm working on getting my first 10,000 subscribers on my Facebook page. I'm at about, I think, 9,300.
Oh, wow.
On the way to 9,400.
That's really good.
So yeah, it's been running a bunch of Facebook ads and stuff, and I've eventually I found a niche, so to speak, of where I can be have some highly effective ads and I can reach a bunch of people and it's engaging and it ties back into overall what I'm doing.
Wow, that's really good.
So right now I'm working on really establishing a platform while I'm kind of just recycling old material that I've done. Like maybe, I think the newest thing is, I think I finished it in 2015. So I've just sort of been recycling that because I was making comic strips and comics, all this time. And something my sister always harped on me about, like, you have all of this material, it doesn't really make sense to just put it up once and then that's it. Like, no, you just like, how long did it take you to do that? It's like, there's more value. Like old me would have posted a comic strip this Halloween, and then that was cool. I would have shared it, and that would have been it. That was last Halloween. But now every Halloween I post the same comic strip, and it gets. And the thing about social media is the nifty thing about social media is that most people like a whole year later, I have so many more followers on my page now who didn't see the post. And then people who saw it last year but just really liked it, they'll engage with it again. So it's like, don't get so caught up in, well, everyone's seen that already. It's like, no, there's a whole new crop of people in here who would love to absorb that content. So I try to recycle my content as much as possible when I can. I love creating new stuff like we all do,
Of course.
But it's like, when you have the opportunity to do that and when it benefits you, it's like, yeah, so put out this old stuff and people will still engage with it, like it. They're getting content from Marcel Comics while you're still able to build your platform and do what you really want to do. So I've been doing that, recycling old content, building a platform while mixing in a little bit of, effortless content, so to speak,
Gotcha.
New stuff while crafting my first, what I would call original, focused story. Because as I said, I kind of mixed my stories in with other characters from other stories. So for instance, the story that's posting on Marcel Comics right now on the Facebook page involves Cookie Cat from Steven Universe, Son Goku from Dragon Ball, or Dragon Ball Z rather, and then Frank Ocean. They're all on a quest to get the Dragon Balls from Puff Daddy.
Frank Ocean? That's the musical.
Yeah.
Musical. Okay, just making sure. I make sure my brain was on the right.
The story was created when I thought of back when he was trying to release that album after Channel Orange, and he kept doing all these delays. And I was like, wouldn't it be? I don't know what brought it up. I was like, wouldn't it be funny if Frank Ocean was just busy collecting the Dragon Balls with somebody or whatever, and he had to keep pushing the album back because he doesn't have time to work on it. So well, I ended up creating a whole story around that, and it made that a whole thing. So this story I'm working on right now, though, that's called Pizza, formerly known as Swagger Ball Z, but for obvious reasons, it's like maybe we should let that title go. It's cool, but so now it's called Pizza.
Might be in a fight with Funimation on that one.
Maybe. I mean, there's a lot of things out there that kind of parody Dragon Ball Z's logo. Just the Z alone has been ripped off so many times. Yeah, but yeah, as far as establishing, I was like, well, what I want to do with Pizza, this story, I want to establish more of my own footprint and not so much of a boost off of someone else's. Make it as much my own while it's still connected, because all of these stories are meant to take place in the same universe.
Okay.
I wanted to still be connected to all of these other different stories, which I think makes it all fun. But I wanted to feel as Marcel as possible. If you get what I'm saying.
No.
Yeah. I've been working on that and just sort of tweaking what I want it to look like. Technically it's been in development, I guess you could say, for a decade, which is, I think that's a common thing amongst artists and just artists in general. I think most, people will say about hip hop albums, the first album, it's usually always the best because they've been working on that album their entire life.
Exactly.
And that's how it kind of, I draw the same parallels as to Pizza. I've been sort of working on this story, even though I've done other stories. This story is just, there's a lot more that went into it, and it's okay, this is the first one, and it's taking everything I've learned and done so far and putting it all in this one story to make it as entertaining as possible. You know, all the lessons I learned, it's all channeled in here, and then it'll be off to the races. You know, but yeah. I
agree. I agree 110% with that, because I like all creators, we always have that one brainchild that's always it. Right. And I can sympathize 110% with how you feel about pizza. Because that's how I was with my main comic line, that my ongoing series, Trouble the Rhythm Within. It has been like you said, I've been working on it my whole life. But then finally, you know, got to pen and paper and ink, and when it finally came to life, it's like, oh snap, this is what the vision was. Even though, like you said, there's other things that we go on and do, other projects we worked on. Like I worked on a traditional novel, which in my personal opinion was hot garbage, but I worked on a traditional novel in between the time before I even started putting this story where it needed to be, which was on the page. So yes, I got you. I get it. It's always that unicorn. You know what I mean? It's that one magical beast that you always loved and had the passion for, that you got to have in your possession and got to produce and make. So yeah, I'm with you. That makes a lot of sense.
And really, when you think about it, it's the fact that it's like, it seems like it's a long time for us, but I think if you were to look at the great artists, such as like not just necessarily artists, again, like musicians, like the Beatles would, like, they're notorious for being like, oh, they will go to India and see these monks and gurus or meet these celebrities, do all these things in between recording their album, right? And then they get these very unique, iconic albums out of that. And it's like, yeah, you need to live some life. Yeah. And when you're independent, when you're on the come up, that's a lot more of a stretched out time frame versus it being condensed, like how these, you know, celebrities can do it. They just have time in the world to soak up all that life and experience and feed that blender to get something to come out, you know? So yeah, it's very true. You definitely, you need sometimes all of that before you basically poop out.
Yes. Yeah. Pretty much, you gotta poop it out. That's exactly how it's done. Perspective is extremely important, especially when it comes to creating something that you're trying to do that's unique or has a different type of flavoring or different type of seasoning on there. That's extremely important, and I think that is one of the utmost overlooked aspects of the creative process. Like you mentioned with the Beatles, writing, but then having a whole bunch of life experience, and then continuing their writing, which of course would change, alter, or modify whatever it is they were putting together off the jump. Right. So yeah, exactly. I agree 110% with that, Marcel. I agree. Yeah, that's good. And I wouldn't be myself if I didn't point out, I love the glasses flick. I love the glasses flick. And it is missing an arm, but it's all good.
No, that's just to fit my brand, you know. It's like, I feel like I messed it up though, because I got so into it. I started talking with my other hand too. I was like, no, you gotta just leave it here. You gotta leave it here. You got, you roll it up and then you let it hang. You know, you let it like, oh, did you hear what I said? Like it's a good move.
Absolutely, absolutely. Of course, no lens. Of course, there's no lenses. Of course there isn't.
I just got some new health insurance. You know, I'm about to go to Lens Crafters. We're going to hook this up.
Now we're getting somewhere. Care first. Let's get it done. So that's cool. Thank you for sharing on your journey and all the things that you're working on. One other question I had is, actually, two other questions. One was, do you have anything coming up soon? Any events coming up soon? Any projects that you think you're about to release anytime soon?
No appearances just yet. Still like what I would call, like I said, building that platform first, getting that audience, and then once I'm in a solid place with that, and have a solid spending money to just break off with these conventions and tables, have it the way I want it to be. Not just be out there with the skirt and then your books on the table. Like, okay, like I've been going to these conventions long enough to where I know, okay, you have to approach them a certain way if you want to be successful. And being successful for me isn't just selling a book anymore. So it's like, okay, I need to have everything ready before I go there. And I'm not trying to get like caught up in the paralysis by analysis. It's just that it's like, okay, I know if I'm going to go up to these conventions, it's going to be for a purpose. And not just to be out here feeling like I'm doing something.
Agreed. One thing that I've learned over the years being in the industry and being in these communities, it is so, for me anyway, I've been around a minute, it is so much more important to me to build camaraderie amongst my contemporaries, amongst my fellow independent creators, or those that support my work. I've said this a million times on this show, and I'll say it a million times off the air. The independent comic community, especially, we are the farmer's market. We are the farmer's market of the comic game. If I had oranges and you had bananas, we both have something we both need. We can both help each other. We all get together in one community to help build each other up. If you have watermelons and I don't have watermelons, but I still want to step on you because you have watermelons, all we're going to do is hurt each other. We all take everything that we have, we build each other up, and then everybody else will come, because you see how the community works. And that's what brings me great joy in this community, because like mainstream comics, you're not going to find that. You're not going to find that kind of camaraderie. And through my experiences being in the community and doing all this stuff, my comic work, and now producing, this show and all this stuff, I'm seeing even more so the love in the community, and I really get great joy from that. And that's where I cut my jib on that there. And Marcel, you're definitely a part of that community. And and sharing your stories and sharing the things that you're trying to create is really dope. Before we get to plugs and things, one thing I wanted to roll back just a hot second. You had mentioned that you've kind of figured out your target algorithm, as it were, for your targeted ads. How did you end up discovering that? Because a lot of other indie creators are trying to do the exact same thing. How did you end up figuring out how where to actually target those ads? Because it seems like a crapshoot sometimes.
And yeah, and I can get that. So it's funny because I'm actually consulting for an up and coming comic book house, a comic book company called Animated Concepts. Produced by Javane Dargan. They've got a lot of cool stuff on the way, and he brought me in for advice on things like that. And what I would tell you is exactly what I told him. Is basically it's basically there is a phase one of trial and error, because everyone has their own unique story and unique brand, and you've got to find what works for you. But Facebook ads, like as far as like Facebook, there's different things you can run ads through. But as far as Facebook ads, they make it very as simple as like user friendly. It's very user friendly.
Yes.
So if you say you're making a superhero comic, right? You have a superhero comic, and he's for the example's sake, we'll just say he's a ripoff of Batman, right?
Sure.
Okay. He's a ripoff of Batman, and you want to advertise it to people who like Batman. All you do is just, when you're in Facebook ads, when you're selecting your interests, you target people who like Batman. And it's very simple. It's under interest. It'll say Batman, Batman comics, Batman movies. You just click whichever ones you want to click. and you can select your age range. And if you want to get real intense with it, you can select which state, which region, demographics, all these kinds of things. You can get very, very specific with it. And typically, the more specific you get with it, the better you're going to do in the long run, because the whole idea here is you're trying to build an audience of people who like your stuff.
Exactly.
So it can be a bit of a overwhelming process because there are so many like options, and it's kind of like Adobe for like you ever use Microsoft Paint, right?
Yeah,
real simple thing. You go in there, you color, right? But then you go into a Photoshop, which is the same thing, but they have all these little features in it that make you can take it so much higher. But it can be overwhelming to the average person. And, it's like, well, I don't even know how to use Photoshop. And it's like, it's just paint with some rims, it's nothing that special. So it's the same thing for Facebook and doing these ads. It's very simple. They make it very simple for you. You just got to take the time to sort of, troubleshoot, fail fast. It's a quote by Denzel Washington, and I just used it the other day. Maybe that's all it is. It's fail fast. Mess up quickly and learn from it, and so you can get to where you want to be.
Makes sense. Good, man. That's fantastic. So one last thing. So anything you want to plug while we're here, Marcel?
Okay, so I have two things before I plug. Like, we got time, right? Like, give me like 2 minutes.
Sure.
2 minutes. Yeah. Sorry, I went to go check to see if I still had that Captain Underpants book, the one you were talking about with poopy pants. Because they had this thing in the book, I don't know if you remember, where he was trying to change everybody's name to a silly name, right?
Yes.
And because you're like the only person that's ever like brought that up when I tell them that story, I'm like, what would be cool? We should go look it up and see what our funny names are. And we can do that. I'm like,
that's cool. Right. It was a thing that you can call.
And you can do your own name.
That's right.
I can't find the book. Maybe I don't have that one. I found Talking Toilets. I found a Wedgie Woman. I found the what was it? The other one. It's the purple one. But I have all of them except that one.
Yeah. Oh my God, I forgot all about that. Oh my God.
I try to have a fun little moment with you, but oh well.
It's all good. No, I appreciate the sentiment. Yeah. I appreciate that. That's dope. Oh man, I forgot all about that. Thought I was 10 years old again. Holy crap. That was dope. Dang, I forgot what I was talking about. Plugs, right.
Yeah, I'm going to say the plug. So,
giving me flashbacks out here.
Yeah. So I would say if you're interested, to your audience, if you're interested in Marcel Comics and what we do, we create stories. We have original stories, and we have these sort of fan-made stories where we mix in different stories and put them all in the same world. For instance, we just did a Mugen fact, a little fun fact, that talked about how Winifred Sanderson from Hocus Pocus had a huge crush on Godric Gryffindor from Harry Potter. And, like little things like that. We just connected. And the idea here is that we keep it all within the framework of the canon. Mm-hmm. So any story I do is meant to fit with the original story. Like the story I mentioned earlier with Goku, that takes place during the time skip between the Android saga and the Frieza saga. When they were training for the androids coming up, that's when that story takes place. So it's all meant to fit together, and it comes out being real fun. I have my own original stories, release some comic strips every now and again, and all of that is on my Facebook page, where you can type in Marcel Comics. I think we're big enough to come up now. But if you type in, did you mean Marvel Comics, we will definitely come up. It would be the first one, big red logo. You can't miss it. And from there, I have a YouTube page called Marcel the Loser, doing blog content. And I have some of my comics are on Webtoon as well. So if you're looking there, search Webtoon for the title of my comics that do the crossovers is called Mugen. based off of the video game Mugen. So yeah, I'm sure you understand that. So
very much so, very much so.
Webtoon search Mugen, YouTube search Marcel the Loser, Facebook search Facebook search Did You Mean Marvel Comics?
Awesome. Well, Marcel, I really do appreciate you making the time to come on the show. I really appreciate what you're trying to build and what you're growing, and you have the insights that can definitely help a whole lot of people. And what you're doing for the community, keep that up, keep that growing. I love it. Keep up that fine work, my friend.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So everybody, this is Marcel the Loser Vann. Definitely support him and check out all of his works. I will leave all his links in the comment section below. Yes, right down there. So anyway, this has been the Indie Corner. I am Dre the Brute Daniels. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, and share the vid, and follow me on all my dope social media platforms that you see right under my face. I'm gonna put them right under there. Yes, I'm gonna put them right under there. And it will be at TheBrute00 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Again, that's at TheBrute00. Thank you so much for your time. Once again, I am Dre the Brute Daniels, and I will catch you all next time. Also, if you want to support my channel, check out spinwiz.com or download the Spinwiz app and check out my comic series, Trouble. It was written with a lot of love, and it was definitely my favorite comic series to write. I've also written it in English and in Spanish, so whatever floats your boat, I got it for you. Thanks again, and check it out.